Yeah, well, this report is, I think it's pretty bad news for the police. The kind of headline finding is that there's a crisis of public confidence in the police. So in 2019, as recently as 2019, 70% of the British public thought the police were doing a good job. Today, that's fallen to 52%. And little wonder, because crime is at a 20-year high, and yet the police have never solved fewer crimes. So in 2015, I think 15.6% of recorded crimes resulted in either a summons or an arrest. Now that's fallen to 7.3%.
Well, you say 7.3. Parm Sandhu, when she was here the other day, said it's actually 1.3%. That's one reason why half these constabularies are being put under special orders, or whatever they call it, by...
Special measures.
Yeah, special measures by Her Majesty's Inspector. They're fudging these figures.
Well, that may be true. Even according to the official figures, some crimes, the rate at which they're solved is even lower than the official figure of 7.3%. So amongst burglaries, for instance, in Great Britain last year, only 3.5% of reported burglaries resulted in someone being arrested or summoned. And in some parts of the country, the record for solving burglaries is zero, a flat zero.
Yep.
And the diagnosis the public have made is that the police are more concerned with being woke than they are with solving crimes. Not surprising. You know, we've seen the video of the police in Lincoln dancing the Macarena while gangs of youths loot shops, you know, a few streets away. We saw the police take the knee when faced with riotous BLM protesters in 2020. Meanwhile, if you're an anti-lockdown protester, you know, you were subject to a baton charge, arrested and then hit with a massive fine. You know, the police are constantly participating in pride marches. They do nothing about Extinction Rebellion protests, Just Stop Oil protests, apart from giving the protesters water to make sure they're not getting too parched. They do nothing to protect statues from marauding mobs of left-wing students trying to tear them down. So it's little wonder, and as you said earlier, you know, if you misgender someone on Twitter, then you can expect, you know, to see some coppers come to your door.
Yes.
The Free Speech Union did some research into the number of people who've had non-crime hate incidents recorded against their names.
Yes.
And we think that between 2014, when they were first introduced by the College of Policing, until now, in England and Wales alone, it's about 250,000. That's an average of about 75 people a day being investigated for basically misgendering someone on Twitter. Not that surprising. They're not really solving any burglaries, auto theft, violent crimes. They're too busy policing our tweets.
The ideological thing is actually very corrosive of trust. I mentioned the police service of Northern Ireland a minute ago. The reason that exists is because the Royal Ulster Constabulary, whether it's true or not, was perceived to be more of a Protestant force than a Catholic force. Now, they had a hell of a job doing that, and in the end they were rewarded after whatever it was, 80 years, by being put out of business. Now, we have every other constabulary in the country on cultural issues taking one side over the other nakedly and openly. Why aren't those guys being put out of business?
I mean, someone said that the police have essentially become the paramilitary wing of The Guardian. They now see their job as enforcing woke orthodoxy. Policing thought crimes, not actually policing actual crimes. And it's bizarre, and as you say, it completely undermines public confidence in the police. I mean, you know, if you think that the police are, you know, biased in favour of one side of these various politically contentious debates, and you're not going to get a fair shout if you don't happen to parrot all the fashionable orthodoxies du jour, then of course you're going to lose confidence, lose trust in the police. And they don't seem to be, when they engage in these Macarena dances at Pride. They don't think of themselves, I don't think, as taking sides in a contentious political issue. They think these issues have now been resolved, and everyone is essentially a Guardian reader. Everyone flies a rainbow flag in their driveway, and we're merely reflecting the overwhelming public consensus. Well, no, actually, you're not.
Well, I think this was great at Manchester Police. While they were at the Pride parade or whatever it was, somebody smashed the windscreen of their police car, and then they put this rather petulant tweet up saying, "Oh well, now we won't be able to patrol the streets because you smashed the window of our police car, so it's now going to have to go to the shop." Well, wait a minute, it's going to the shop every other month to be painted in rainbow colours for whatever Pride celebration you're having.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem is there seems to be a real crisis of confidence in the police itself. They used to be able to rely on common sense, on the Pelian principles that the Policy Exchange report recommends are brought back. But it's as though they've outsourced their thinking. They can no longer trust themselves to make simple, common-sense decisions. They've outsourced their thinking to organisations like Stonewall, Mermaids, Gendered Intelligence. It's as though all the attacks on the police by the Guardian-reading left in the 70s and the 80s undermine their confidence. We are the baddies. We have to go through some kind of moral cleansing process, be re-educated, so we're no longer attacked by these left-wingers. We're no longer thought to be the bad guys. So they've now gone on all these diversity training courses. They festoon their police cars with rainbow colours. They go around with posters saying being offensive is an offence, and they see their role really as protecting beleaguered minorities as identified by The Guardian rather than protecting the public from crime.